Welcome to this presentation on origins of the Gulf, focusing on the beginnings of golf in Scotland. Golf originated in Scotland along the east coast, which is now known as St. Andrews, as early as 1414. As just a reference point, Christopher Columbus did not set sail for the New World until 1492. Early golf was played on land that was termed links. Many people think that links refers to the link between the land and the sea, but the British definition is an old word that refers to land unsuitable for agricultural crops. So actually links in the early British definitions referred to the link of the sea with agricultural land that was more inland. Links-type lands formed in this area where sandy deposits were left behind centuries ago by a receding ocean. True links refers to deposits of silt and clay on top of the sand caused by the slowing of a river stream. Thus, these true links form along river estuaries. In Scotland, the early links golf courses, including St. Andrews, occurred along the rivers Eden, Tay, and Forth. Links land was not suitable for agriculture because the deep sand profiles promoted rapid water drainage, which could result in drought-like conditions. In addition, sand did not retain nutrients. These characteristics, which were undesirable for agriculture at the time, were extremely desirable for golf. Golf clubs and balls at the time were extremely rudimentary. Balls would be wooden or later on would be featheries, which meant that if the turf or grass was thick and the soil was wet, golf would be almost impossible to play on agricultural desirable land. The links land were well drained, generally nutrient poor, so the grasses that grew were generally wispy, thin, and the surface was dry due to good drainage. This photograph was taken at Royal Birkdale, a links course in England. As you can see, it is raining quite hard, and that water is accumulating, but within 20 minutes after the rain stopped, the surface was dry and golfers were out playing. As we previously mentioned, the Scottish referred to the parliamentary proclamations banning golf as a sign that golf originated in Scotland and indirectly implied that masses of common people were playing the game. Actually, at this time, very few people were playing golf. The Scottish royalty wanted their loyal subjects to be practicing archery to fend off any possible attack from the English, which, as we discussed in previous presentations, the English were too busy fighting among themselves at the time. Actually, if the Scots did practice their archery, it was not very effective since they lost the Battle of Flodden in 1513 to the English. And for those interested, the Battle of Flodden occurred when the Scots invaded northern England. King James IV led the invasion and subsequently died in the battle. But why digress? Much of golf in Scotland occurred around St. Andrews. Over the next 300 years, not much growth occurred in golf in the number of courses or golfers. There are probably several reasons for this. An expensive game in a poor country, but to a large extent, global events played a large role too. St. Andrews, shown here in the background, originated some 6,000 years ago and was known by a Pictish word that meant land of the wild boar. As legend goes, St. Rule, a monk who in the 4th century fled Constantinople with 3 fingers of the Apostle Andrew's right hand, the upper bone of his arm, and a kneecap. The actual number of fingers and such varies depending on the source, but I think you get the idea. St. Rule headed for Scotland and became shipwrecked off the coast of what is now known as St. Andrews. According to legend, there were 16 monks and 2 virgins traveling. This picture is the remains of what was known as the St. Rule Cathedral. Within a cathedral, reportedly the remains of Andrew were placed in the tower of St. Regulus, which might have been here, which is circled. The city grew as the cathedral was built, and in 1318 was consecrated by Robert the Bruce. St. Andrews is home to the oldest university in Scotland, which was founded in 1412. One of the earliest references to golf was written by a student named James Melville in 1574. Basically, he wrote a letter that said his father had provided him with a club and balls for golf, but nothing for hand tennis or drinking in the pub. With the arrival of the Protestant Reformation in the mid-16th century, St. Andrews was one of the focal points. The Reformation started as a movement to reform the Catholic Church because of perceived corruption and led to the creation of the Protestant movement. This picture is of the remains of the St. Andrews Castle. John Knox, who was an ordained Catholic priest and educated, some think, at the University of St. Andrews, became disillusioned with the Catholic religion and became a leader of the Protestant Reformation. In 1559 he preached, some would say ranted from the pulpit for 3 days, inciting his followers to burn down the St. Andrew's Cathedral. After which it became a cemetery to ensure the cathedral would never be rebuilt. What ignited John Knox and his followers? 7 martyrs just a few days previously were burned at the stake at various locations around the center of town. Where those men were burned is marked by plaques with their initials in the town sidewalks. I am not sure, but some feel that this town did not recover from the trauma of the Reformation until the middle of the 19th century. St. Andrew's Golf Course was originally 11 holes. He played out and around the estuary, and then played the 11 holes back in. Thus the original number of holes for a round at St. Andrews was 22. In 1764, a score of 121 was recorded for the 22-hole course. And subsequently the next day, the members decided that the first 4 holes were too short and merged them into 2 holes, which has now created the standard 18-hole golf course. In 1754, the club, the Society of St. Andrews Golfers, was formed. In 1834, King William IV agreed to become the patron of the club, and the Society of St. Andrews Golfers became the Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St. Andrews. The clubhouse shown here was begun in 1854 and has been added on and modified over the years. According to the club minutes, on September 7, 1810, the Society authorized the secretary to, quote, employ tradesmen to repair the golfer's bridge on the links, which is at present almost impassable, and to pay the expense thereof. This refers to the famous Swilcan Bridge on the 18th hole. Everyone who has played golf at St. Andrews has crossed this bridge. Some of the notables that played golf in the 1500s include Mary Queen of Scots, who was an avid golfer. She was roundly criticized for playing golf at St. Andrews the day after her husband, Lord Darnley, was murdered. I guess, though, if you had him killed, you really don't mourn for a very long period of time. This drawing by the artist Forrester depicts Mary enjoying a round of golf at St. Andrews. Forrester might have been a talented artist and an avid golfer, but he was no historian. Note the Varden grip. Is St. Andrews the oldest club? Actually, Royal Burgess in Edinburgh is considered the oldest golfing society, which was established in 1735. The Honourable Club of Edinburgh Golfers, established in 1744, but was disbanded in 1831, but reformed in 1836, eventually locating at Muirfield. The Honourable Club of Edinburgh in 1744 published the first rules of golf, known as the 13 Articles. Had it not been for a few golfing societies, all of them formed by Freemasons, golf would not have survived. Between 1750 and 1850, There were not more than 500 players at any one time. This was especially true during the French Revolution. During the late 18th century, the Napoleonic Wars, which sparked the French Revolution, continued the demise of golf. During this period, the French monarchy was overthrown and new ideas of individual rights should be protected arose. Games like golf were associated with nobility, the rich and the aristocratic elite. That was under attack not only in France but through Europe. The agricultural revolution was also occurring, which resulted in a number of golf courses being plowed and used for farming. In St. Andrews, the town and golf course became run down. They were basically bankrupt. Portions of the course had been sold for raising rabbits, which sparked a 20-year war, if you can believe it, between the rabbits and the owners, the Dempsters, and golfers in the early 19th century. Often a gruesome scene. But slowly, with the repurchase of the land lost to the Dempsters by James Cheap, with later ownership transferred to what is now known as the St. Andrews Link Trust in 1821, the course and the city began to rebuild. However, it was not until the 1840s that things really began to change, when Sir Hugh Playfair, shown here with the big hat, became Chief Magistrate and Provost for St. Andrews. He cleaned up the town, making it a modern town, through the establishment of the 40 rules that address public conduct. He emphasized making St. Andrews a tourist destination through the establishment of a rail line. He combined this with major change in golf. The development of the gutter percha ball sparked not only a revival of St. Andrews, but the first real golf boom that started around 1850. In future presentations, we will look at the evolution of the golf ball, transportation, and the role rail lines played, and also the impact of famous golf matches.